Our focus this evening on what next in the post-Pahalgam exchange between India and Pakistan. Important and closely watched developments all through the day with a strong message from the centre. Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired a key meeting at his residence to discuss the Indus Water Treaty, which India has suspended. The meeting that lasted for nearly 2 hours saw Water Resources Minister C.R. Patil and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, amongst other colleagues from the cabinet. The meeting focused on technical aspects of India's decision to indefinitely suspend the treaty, and sources tell NDTV that implementation will be carried out in phases. The treaty allocates over 80% water from the 3 western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, to Pakistan, and the 3 eastern rivers to India. India is the upper riparian state, and the suspension of the treaty and diversion of waters is being monitored closely globally. Pakistan has called it an act of war. The government is formulating a short, medium and long-term action plan for implementation, according to sources. India had formally notified Pakistan of the immediate suspension on Thursday evening, citing no end in cross-border terror. India has also downgraded, remember, diplomatic ties with Pakistan, expelled Pakistani military attaches and closed the Atari land transit post. And Home Minister Shah has asked chief ministers to identify and deport Pakistani nationals in India. The army chief, meanwhile, reviewed the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. The opposition Congress party has held nationwide gatherings to mourn the victims of the attack, and Rahul Gandhi visited Srinagar and Pahalgam earlier today. Several reactions, political and otherwise, that came in through the day. Listen in to Omar Abdullah.
India has taken some steps as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Let's be honest, we have never been in favor of the Indus Water Treaty. We have always believed that the Indus Water Treaty has been the most unfair document to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what the medium to long-term implications of this are, that's something we will have to wait to see.
Joining me now is my colleague Aishwara Jane, who tracked that meeting at the Home Minister's residence, which ended a short while ago. Aishwarya, some really strong points coming out of that meeting in terms of clarity on the way forward.
Well, that's right. In fact, yesterday it was Water Resource Minister C.R. Patil who chaired a meeting with the officials of the MEA and MHA and prepared a blueprint, and today a presentation was given while the meeting was concluded at the residence of Home Minister Amit Shah. The sources have told us that the minister had told the Home Minister that there would be complete stoppage of the water flow towards Pakistan, and the decision that was taken by the CCS under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be implemented immediately. We have been told that there would be 3 phases program that will be initiated by Water Resource Ministry: the short-term program, the mid-term and the long-term. We have been told that modern technologies would be used to enhance the storage capacity of the dams, as well as the silts will be removed for better storage in the dams as well. The World Bank, who was the main agency involved in this treaty, they will be informed by the Indian government as well about the decision that the Indian government has taken. Implementation of this decision will be on the immediate effect is something that C.R. Patil had told the Home Minister, and the impact of this decision on Pakistan will be visible soon, as being told after this meeting. So clearly a blueprint had been prepared. It's a long drawn process, but the work will begin immediately is something that the Water Resource Ministry, the Jal Shakti Ministry had told the Home Minister.
Right, thanks very much there, Aishwarya, for those details. We'll keep a close watch on this. This is a complex issue. What are the options before India? Joining me now, a special panel this evening, Ambassador Dilip Sinha, who served in Islamabad and was India's former permanent representative to the UN in Geneva. Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, who has served in several important positions globally. Security analyst from Bengaluru, Colonel KPM Das, who's a veteran of many postings in Kashmir. And Dr. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat. My first question to you, Ambassador Dilip Sinha, multiple questions and focus about India's suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. Several confabulations as well. We just heard the meeting coming to a close at the Home Minister's residence. Put this move in perspective for us and the message India is sending to Pakistan and the world with this decision.
This treaty was signed several years ago in certain circumstances. Unfortunately, the treaty which we signed did not have a conclusion clause. It didn't have an expiry date. Normally, treaties have that. Uh, but we did not provide that for that. And the result is that even though circumstances have changed completely now, uh, and we have had great difficulty in operating the treaty because of Pakistan's obstructionist attitude in the implementation of this treaty. We are stuck in a situation where, when we proposed to Pakistan that there should be an amendment to the treaty, Pakistan turned it down. In this treaty, we thought we had got a fair deal in the sense that the three rivers of the eastern rivers in Himachal and Punjab, Haryana were given to India in its entirety, and the three rivers of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were given to Pakistan. But in terms of the quantum of water, 70% of the water flows in those rivers of Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, and only 30% in the eastern rivers. Now, those three rivers in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are extremely crucial. Indus is the main river of Ladakh, Jhelum is the main river of Kashmir Valley, and Chenab is the main river of Jammu. The interests of these three regions of India were sacrificed in this agreement, which is why the Jammu Kashmir Assembly at one time had actually passed a resolution against this treaty. But then we had treated it as a shibboleth in our foreign policy that we would not question the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, I'm really glad that we have at least taken the step of keeping it in abeyance. I hope we take the step of abrogating this treaty because the circumstances in which they were signed have changed completely.
Ambassador Triguniyat, we were just told by our sources after the meeting that there are 3 steps, short, medium and long-term plans that are being put in place to enforce this suspension is implemented in spirit. Could you just explain the context of those 3 stages for us?
Well, as Ambassador Sinha mentioned, that India has been asking for quite some time for consultations with Pakistan, which it has been refusing to discuss this treaty. And therefore, I think 2 days ago, yesterday probably, our Secretary of the Jal Shakti has written to her counterpart, Ali Raza, that because the material changes have occurred, which has India has been asking for consultations and Pakistan has refused. Therefore, India has decided to hold the treaty in abeyance. And therefore, today, what the meeting has been taken place at the residence of the Home Minister essentially is giving the short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan. Now, because these things should have happened long back, we have had 6 of these on Chenab itself. We have 6 barrages and I think dams. We should have desilting and all that we are talking about now, because this has been going on for quite some time and water is required in India. And therefore, what we can do, and the Prime Minister himself has been saying for long that blood and water cannot flow together. And Pakistan has not changed it. So it has been very clearly mentioned in that letter that has been communicated to the Pakistanis that it is because of the attack which has happened and continuous use of terrorism by Pakistan against India. And therefore, this has been held in abeyance. So I think that now the war footing, as the Minister Jal Shakti must have told what exactly physical steps will be taken. And I think the experts can tell you how much desilting will take place, how much storage of water can be done, because you can't just stop the water just like that. I mean, has to be in some ways.
Absolutely.
Of course, there are times when you can supply, sometimes you can do more, open the dams, and also sometimes that can be very dangerous. And I have seen it. And that is the handle that India has right now in its hands. And I think this is a very significant decision that the government has taken and this is the only thing that was going to clearly indicate the resolve of the Indian government in a diplomatic manner.
Absolutely. Dr. Tara Karta, on the one side is the optics of a stern and strong message, but on the other side is trying to achieve the fundamental aims that we want to achieve, both in terms of eradication of terror in Pakistan and also in terms of the global reactions. What would be the fundamental steps ahead for India?
I think in terms of the terrorist attack, we've got adequate, the calls from abroad saying that, people have condemned it and all the rest of it. But in the end, what depends is what you do, right? In terms of the Indus Water Treaty, I just want to say this in a couple of sentences. This is one of the most foolish treaties ever. I think within your network, I mean, I have no political, dog in this fight. But do you know that we actually signed the treaty in about 15 to 20 days, where Pakistan took 2 years? You know, second thing is 70% to them, 30% to us. Insane. Third is the conditions. And those conditions, by the way, are what you're changing right now. In terms of where you can put the outlets, where you can, what is the size of the dam. That is what now you are changing. Desilting is something you have to do anyway. So basically, what he's talking about is in changing from run-of-the-river projects to proper storage capacity dams. That is going to kill Pakistan's agriculture at a time when it is already fighting within itself. The Sindh, a couple of days ago, there was a huge fight between the Sindh and the Punjab on an initiative called the Cholistan Project. 6 canals to be taken around. So there's a huge fight between Punjab and Sindh. So they're already water stressed, they're already water starved. So this is, it's huge. So it's bigger than anything you can do to them. But if you talk of other measures, I think we should now be very open about the fact that Pakistan is a terror state. I mean, it's time to stop this acceptance that, this is what Pakistan does. Oh, Pakistan does terror all the time. Sorry, we are done. That is the message that should go. This has to stop, and it has to stop now. And this has to be done. This you need international help. Everything else you have to do on your own. In the end, you have to fight your own battles, but this central message has to go. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. This has to stop, and it has to stop now. You say it's a very important and loud message. Colonel Das, from the Army's point of view, today the Army Chief was there conducting a review. From the Army's point of view and from the military point of view, what would be the key focus areas at the moment?
Yeah, so this is very interesting. So I know someone said that somewhere in 2040 is when we are going to be short of water in the world. And there's talk of water wars, right? So I think much ahead of time, this abrogation of this treaty has essentially done that. There's a strong security perspective to this decision, is my view. It is not a tactical decision, unlike the 5 bullet points that was announced in the press briefing. This one stands out as something very strategic. If you look at Pakistan, 30% of its economy is dependent on hydropower, right? And a lot of small and medium businesses. And Pakistan, is a very relatively a manufacturing kind of industry-based economy. Add to that the complexity of CPEC. We know that CPEC is part of the critical infrastructure in Pakistan. It connects into telecom, transportation, railways, every single thing, right? And you need water at the middle of it all. And like Dr. Tarakarta mentioned, I mean, what happened with, this whole Punjab versus Sindh story, which is going on since 1947, to my mind, it's going to get aggravated big time. And we're going to see multiple fault lines coming up simply because of water. And the Indus water delta, in any case, is in extreme distress. And you know that Pakistan has not been investing as much into its irrigation and canal infrastructure. So I think all in all, this is a very set-piece, war-game scenario to play out over the next year or two. Interesting days ahead.
Interesting days ahead, you say. It's a set war game scenario playing in the next week or two. Mr. Ambassador Dilip Sinha, from Pakistan's point of view, what would be the reaction one needs to anticipate, A, and B, also from a larger global standpoint as far as this decision is concerned?
Well, Pakistan will start crying. It will cry before the World Bank. It will go and cry before America. It will cry that it's going to be starved of water. That is standard. The point is that we have to state that there is no international law which obliges an upper riparian to give away its water to the lower riparian. This is a unique treaty. There are several rivers that are international rivers in the world. Nowhere does the upper riparian give away its water to the lower riparian, and also allows the lower riparian to come and inspect the dams and every canal being built in our country. Under the Indus Waters Treaty, Pakistani inspectors have the right to come to Jammu, to Kashmir, to Ladakh, to inspect what we are doing. This is unprecedented. And here you have China, which is the occupying Tibet and is the upper riparian to so many countries. It doesn't even share data on the dams it's building. Two of the rivers of the Indus Waters Treaty, Indus and the Satluj, originate in Tibet. India is only a middle riparian, but China doesn't share anything with us on the dams it is building on these two rivers. So these are factors that have changed the circumstances on the ground. And whatever Pakistan says, we have to look at our interests. These are rivers that are fed by rain that falls from our land. We have a right to that water. If Pakistan doesn't have water, that's Pakistan's problem. And it can go and cry wherever it wants to.
Important point that you're making there. Ambassador Triguniath, what next? We've seen this face-off. Now what next? What would you anticipate next?
Well, I think if you are just talking of the water treaty, then I think the steps have been already identified. So in the short term, whatever shortages we can create there, we will try to do that. And I'm quite sure that it's already on the way. And in the long term, medium term, of course, Pakistan will try to create this international UN cry about this that we have done. They have also said that this will be a war. It's a declaration of war if you stop or suspend the treaty, which India has very carefully chosen the word held in abeyance. I mean, that's something gives you a leeway, basically a leverage across. So now, this, in my view, this thing and the other 4 or 5 actions that India has already taken and are being implemented with regard to the stoppage of visa, no connection, closure of Atari border, as well as declaring their military officials as persona non grata. Essentially, all that has been done so that if there are any more terrorists left here who have come from Pakistan and their handlers sitting in the Pakistan embassy are not able to have an access, that's some kind of a thing that India is trying to do to prevent it. So this is a preventive as well as a measure that very clearly tells Pakistan that we are really serious about it now. The real thing would be that exactly what happens on the field. That will be more important, whether we once again track out like what we did in Uri or what we did in after Pulwama. I mean, are we going to have the same kind of a thing, or it will be a much bigger kind of a backlash from our side and a punishment, as Prime Minister said, they will not be spared. So that is something that is still, I think, in the making, and we'll see much more. But as far as the water is concerned, it will give the biggest setback to Pakistan. You know, Pakistan has not managed its water resources at all, what it used to have. It was a water-rich country, by the way, and it has really done a very poor job of maintaining it.
Important point that you're making there. Dr. Tara, just weigh in on the point that Ambassador Triguniath was making.
See, I just want to make one point. In the short-term consequences, right now, you can't stop water. Right now, you're not in a position to do that because you have limited capacity. What you can do is delay opening. And remember, the entire irrigation, the cycle in Pakistan, the sowing cycle begins late April. So the entire system is going to go for a 6. If you just delayed, that is what they're frightened of. And this is 80% of them, they're dependent on this. It's a complete and absolute dependency. The whole issue of Chenab, I mean, why do you think Musharraf made that statement of Chenab River formula? He didn't care 2 hoots about Kashmir. What they wanted was the Chenab, control of the Chenab. And that is what now very shrewdly the government is sending a message that you guys are going to pay. And the fact what Ambassador said, this is held in abeyance. You're still open to come and talk to us on this. That's the message which is going. And if Pakistan is smart, they should start talking on this.
Colonel Das, last word to you, sir.
Yeah, so what you're seeing is scene 1, act 1 of, this whole thing playing out, right? My own sense is this time around, it is not the punch, counter punch kind of a iterative thing that's going to happen. My sense is this time something where the pain is going to endure and endure for a very long time. I'm quite sure that China is actually sitting up and, kind of working out the details on the impact that it's going to have on CPEC. My sense that a lot of impact is going to get revealed in some of the critical infrastructure like PEMRA and the Pakistan. You need water for every single activity. It's a whole of nation thing. So I think this is a very strategic move. Let's see how it gets operationalized.
Right, you're making a very important point. Scene 1, Act 1 in what could be a prolonged set of moves. Thanks very much to all four of you for joining us on the Southern View this evening. We'll keep this conversation going, but my colleague Shivarur, who's at Uri, had sent us this ground report from the line of control. Let's watch that.
Two days after the Pahalgam massacre, the line of control is heating up rapidly. I'm standing here at line of control in Uri sector, and I'll tell you why that's important in just a moment. But here, along the line of control, that you see there is POK. The Jhelum River is the watershed marking the line of control, and we are reporting along the frontier, the engagement frontier, in many ways the operational frontier between India and Pakistan that has now been activated by the Pakistan army since late last night. Videos have emerged where you can hear machine gun fire. It had initially been reported that firing was only taking place in some sectors, especially this one, the Uri sector of the line of control where I'm reporting from today. But we now know, and NDTV can confirm, that those ceasefire violations by Pakistan last night have actually been taking place along the entire stretch of the line of control, all the way across many posts, but especially here. We are told that just north of where I'm standing on the LOC is a place called Tutmari Gully, where there was a sustained ceasefire violations since late last night. Now, the significance of ceasefire violations is a little complicated, and I do want to explain it because the context here, viewer, is very important. The ceasefire violations do take place periodically. India and Pakistan do have a ceasefire that is active at this point of time. But ceasefire violations taking place in the immediate aftermath of a massive terror attack, like the one that Pahalgam was, makes it belligerent, makes it escalatory, and sends out a different message. You may wonder why Pakistan is firing in the dark. What provoked them to fire? Well, it could be speculative firing. That is the largest consensus, that they're trying to fire in order to see where India's posts are, where the Indian army posts are, whether any movements have actually taken place in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack, where the gaps might actually be, in order to elicit a response from the Indian side, in order to pinpoint where the Indian posts are and whether they've actually moved. It's actually an exercise in intelligence gathering, but there is another aspect to it. And as we report here, and there's a sign here, not very subtle, that says we are under observation, enemy observation, I can tell you that the Pakistan army, especially in light of the clarity that has come in from the Indian political leadership, that something big is coming up. Big military action possibly could be ahead, even though that has not been articulated or enunciated by the political leadership in India. The Pakistan military is also under pressure to show that it is not cowing down, it is not bending down, it is awake, it is alert. Awake is a word that the Pakistan military loves to use in the context of the Indian military, and that's what these ceasefire violations may also be about. Because remember, until the balloon goes up, until conflict actually starts, until a confrontation actually happens, possibly even here along the line of control, the truth of the matter is Pakistan has learned very well from China about what mind games and psychological warfare is all about. And that's the reason why, whether it is Pakistani posts in POK, in that direction, up that hill and beyond it, across the line of control behind me, there's firing taking place, or whether it's on social media where you've got many of the open source intelligence handles and social media accounts of the Pakistan army trying to paint a picture of a very ready, battle ready and prepared military looking for the Indian military to make its first move. Pakistan is trying to send out and radiate an image of readiness and preparedness. Now, it is not for us to guess or decide what military action or if military action will be taken. All indications are it could be. But this particular place where I'm reporting from right now has a huge amount of significance. This is a place from where infiltrations have regularly taken place. This is a place where the famous 2016 surgical strikes happened as well. And this is not very far from the Uri camp, where one of the worst terror attacks actually took place. And that's the reason why, as we continue to report and navigate the fallout of Pahalgam, where I'm standing could possibly be very, very important. At LOC Uri in Jammu and Kashmir, with Ashwini Mehra, Shiv Arur, NDTV.
We'll watch more ground reports from Shiv from Ground Zero there on NDTV. That's all we have time for on the Southern View this evening. News and updates continue right here.